So on May 16th, I saw this article in regards to James Harden supposedly being sued by Moses Malone Jr. And when I was reading through this article, the first thing that came up was they mentioned Isaiah Carey of Fox News in Houston. And then later on, it goes on to say that Harden's lawyer, Rusty Harden, said, "I am in Boston," or whatever. And if you've been following what I've been saying on my blog and a few videos that I've recently made, I've talked about these interesting connections between the Boston Celtics and the Houston Rockets and Isaiah Thomas, right? Isaiah Carey. Anyway, in regards to Moses Malone, not Moses Malone Jr., but Moses Malone, I had made like a 4-part video thing over a year ago or maybe 2 years ago in regards to how he has a bunch of connections to Kevin Garnett, because when Moses Malone died, Moses Malone was the first player out of high school to go play basketball in the ABA. And just before Moses Malone died, not even a month before, Daryl Dawkins died. Daryl Dawkins was the first player out of high school to play in the NBA. And Kevin Garnett, of course, came out of high school. I believe he was the third player to play in the NBA out of high school, but he was the first Teen Wolf. And there was a whole lot of Teen Wolf symbolism that was going on in 2015. You had Zach LaVine, a Minnesota Timberwolf who was a teenager. He won the Rising Star Challenge MVP. And in that same All-Star week, Andrew Wiggins, another Teen Wolf, won the Slam Dunk Contest. And eventually, you know what, it led into the Nebraska Cornhuskers, because in the movie Teen Wolf, they have Nebraska Cornhusker stuff all throughout the background. There's even a license plate with the Nebraska Cornhuskers. It doesn't make that much sense. The movie has palm trees in it. If you look the movie up, you find out it's not set in Nebraska. It wasn't filmed in Nebraska. So it's interesting to have all the Teen Wolves or Nebraska stuff in the Teen Wolf movie. And then Nebraska got their coach, Mike Riley, and Mike Riley is mostly known for coaching the Oregon State Beavers. And in the movie Teen Wolf, their mascot is the Beavers, and it is based off of the Oregon State Beaver. A whole bunch more. Even that All-Star week when the Teen Wolves both did awesome in it, it was over. That All-Star week began on February 13th, and it went till February 15th. Which is also when the Roman festival of Lupercalia falls, from February 13th to the 15th, and it is all about the wolf symbolism. It is the celebration of the she-wolf who supposedly suckled Romulus and Remus, the founders of Rome. And anyway, in regards to Kevin Garnett and the Cleveland Cavaliers, remember when Kevin Garnett retired this year, Tyronn Lue, the Cleveland Cavaliers coach, offered Kevin Garnett a spot to help coach the Cleveland Cavaliers. Tyronn Lue went to the Nebraska Cornhuskers when he played at college and whatnot. But what I wanted to talk about in this post is, so basically I made this post and I talked about all this stuff in regards to Moses Malone and Kevin Garnett that I already talked about. You know, Moses Malone died age 60. Malone equals 60. Daryl Dawkins equals 60. Flip Saunders died at the age of 60 in October that year, the same year that Daryl Dawkins died, the same year that Moses Malone died. But what I mostly talked about in this post is all of the 12 and 21 stuff that is around Kevin Garnett and Moses Malone. Moses Malone even finished his career with the San Antonio Spurs. And then when he retired, that's the next year Kevin Garnett came in to the league and whatnot, wearing number 21. But Spurs equal 21. Their symbol, the U equals 21. Duncan wore number 21. If you recall, last year they got knocked out of the NBA playoffs 21 days before the finals. This year they beat the Rockets 21 days before the finals. They knocked the Rockets out on 5/11. Saturn in Gematria equals 21. And also 511 Jewish, a lot like the date. Anyway, if you recall, Kevin Garnett even retired before this season After playing in the NBA for 21 seasons, he even announced his retirement 1 month, 2 days before the anniversary of Flip Saunders' death. When he came into the league, he was wearing number 21 with the T-Wolves. In his rookie season, they finished 12th in the West and even finished the season against the Spurs that equal 21. But Flip Saunders became the coach that season as well on the T-Wolves' 21st game. Garnett played with the T-Wolves for 12 seasons before he left to Boston. Flip Saunders even fired on 2/12 in 2005, originally by the T-Wolves. Garnett's best friend, supposedly, Malik Sealy, died after celebrating his birthday. His birthday was 2/1, and if you go to Wikipedia, it even still has his number 21 St. John's picture, which makes no sense because he played in the NBA and whatnot. But they wanted you to see the 21. Moses Malone, then, he played pro basketball for 21 seasons. He holds the record for the most offensive rebounds in a game with 21. He started in the NBA age 21 and 212 days. And his team even beat Milwaukee by 21 points on his first game. And then when he played with the 76ers, which was really big in regards to the connections between the Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors. But anyway, when he played with the 76ers, he averaged 21 points and 12 rebounds. And Moses Malone, like I said, finished his career with the Spurs that equals 21. Kevin Garnett was even traded back to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Thaddeus Young, a guy who played for the... He didn't play for him at the time, but he did play for the 76ers, and he wore number 21 for the 76ers. He was also the 12th pick in the draft. Thaddeus Young in gematria equals 56. Kevin Garnett equals 56. Wolf equals 56 in gematria. Kevin Garnett's first game back with the Minnesota Timberwolves was on the 56th day of the year. I mean, there's a whole lot more I could talk about. James Harden even connected to Lupercalia and whatever else, you know. But I just wanted to point out that the main thing in this, what I post was I was talking about 12 and 21 and how Moses Malone and Kevin Garnett have this like connection to 12 and 21 and whatnot. And after I had made this post, I went to CNN, and the first article that really stuck out to me was this article right here. We got the story about Sheldon on the Big Bang Theory. Jim Parsons in real life got married to his gay boyfriend or whatever. And instantly I thought, what are the odds of that I click on this article, and it just came to me all of a sudden. I remembered I had made videos in regards to Sheldon and the Big Bang Theory and how his favorite number is, or maybe not his favorite number, but he talks about the number 73 and how it's the best number because of a whole bunch of stuff in regards to 12 and 21 that I had just got done posting about in regards to Kevin Garnett and Moses Malone. Also, I thought it was interesting that earlier in the night, I watched the new Big Bang Theory with my girlfriend that came out on 5/11, but we didn't watch it until May 16th or whatever. And it's the only show that we actually watch together. Like, that's the only, there's no other show that we like sit down and watch, but we always watch the Big Bang Theory. And on this episode, Sheldon proposes to his girlfriend, Amy. And then we get the story, you know, on CNN about the real life Sheldon getting married to his gay boyfriend. Just interesting that he would propose to his girlfriend on the show and then in real life gets married. And he got married on like 3 days before, or he got married, I think, on the 13th of May. Yeah, May 13th, and then this episode came out on May 11th. But still, you know, right around the same time. And I'll explain the 12 and 21 stuff here in a second, but I have 2 videos that I made about the Big Bang Theory. One of them, the second one, I even put out on, or I was talking about Season 5, Episode 16, and then all of this stuff is happening on May 16th. Pretty interesting. A lot like 5/16. The other one, the first one that I put out on 12/1 of the year 2014. Right? A lot like 12 and 21, 12/1. How interesting, you know? and I was talking about the 73rd episode, and Sheldon's favorite number is the number 73 and whatnot. I'll just read what the whole episode entails and what he's talking about. So he says the best number is 73, and they ask him why. 73 is the 21st prime number. Its mirror, 37, is the 12th prime number. And 12 and 21 obviously are mirrors. Then he also says 21 is the product of multiplying 7 and 3. A lot like 73. And in binary, 73 is a palindrome, whatever, which is backwards, blah, 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 blah. And then Leonard says 73 is the Chuck Norris of numbers. And I'll show you why that's significant. But the interesting thing then, so 73 is all about 12 and 21, right? Which is what I had just posted about. And then I see this article just after that. It just seems pretty strange. And before I even go much farther, I want to point out that if you write out the word or the words 73, it equals 166, just like the Big Bang Theory. And also, when he got married on May 13th, that equals 166. And it just really sticks out. If you've watched my videos and been to my blog, this number is something super important. I don't know the full meaning of it. It's connected to my own life. You know, my uncle's name equaled 166, and his name was Barney, married to Betty, like the Flintstones, and the Flintstones aired 166 episodes. It was based off of a TV show called The Honeymooners. Honeymooners equals 166. He gave me this dolphin jersey before he died. I found out that he gave it to me at a place, the gold slipper, that equals 166. I asked my mom when my uncle's birthday was so I could look some stuff up, and I just so happened to ask her 166 days after his birthday. And there was all this stuff that was leading up to reverse gematria, and I found out reverse gematria equals 166 in gematria. But moving on, so Sheldon talks about the best number is number 73 on the 73rd episode of The Big Bang Theory. And Leonard says, we get it, 73 is the Chuck Norris of numbers. And then they move on with the show, you know, it's supposed to be a joke, but look at it in gematria. Chuck Norris in reverse gematria equals 158. If you write out 73 in reverse gematria, it equals 158. You know, in regards to my uncle as well, his name in reverse gematria equals 158. Freemasonry also equals 158 in reverse gematria. So, also I wrote in here that it was interesting that he talks about how 73 and its mirrors, kind of like the reverse, the reflection, right? And then 73 and Chuck Norris both equal the same in reverse. But in regards to 158, the latest episode where Sheldon proposes to Amy is the 231st episode. That means that it's 158 episodes after the 73rd episode even. And there's more in regards to 158 and what I want to finish, what I want to keep talking about later on in this video, because Leonard on The Big Bang Theory is also David on the TV show Roseanne. And this very same day, they announced that they're bringing back the TV show Roseanne. But John Galecki, who plays Leonard and whatnot, there seems to be a decent amount of 158 around him. Even on The Big Bang Theory, he gets married to Penny, or he gets engaged to Penny on the 158th episode. And just think about that in regards to Sheldon getting engaged to Amy, and then how it connects to 158. Also, I don't know if I ever mentioned it on a video, but I was talking about all of these 166s a while back, and there's something in connection to my girlfriend as well. Her favorite TV show is Supernatural, which I once in a while will watch with her, just not into it, but Supernatural equals 166. So I went and looked up Jim Parsons, and of course, he's from Houston. If you've been following what I've been talking about on this blog, and like I said, I'm shortening up a lot of this, but I've been talking about Houston for the past 2 months, and I've been talking about the space theme since clear back in November. So interesting when you look this guy up, he's from Houston, and he's even alma mater at the University of Houston and the University of San Diego. The Houston Rockets, originally from San Diego even. Sheldon, the character that he plays on The Big Bang Theory in gematria, equals 31 and 112 in reverse. Houston equals 31 and 112, the frontwards way. Also a big deal in regards to him getting married in real life was that he's been with this guy for 14 years. If you write out 14, it also equals 112 in reverse. I also noticed that he's 44 years old right now. His name, Jim Parsons, equals 44. He was born in the year 73 even. Just think about that in regards to his favorite number being 73. I also found some interesting links and whatnot in regards to 37 and 73 basically being all throughout the Bible, and people are saying it's pointing to Jesus Christ and whatnot. One of the big things that they begin all of these things with is that they talk about the Hebrew gematria of Genesis 1:1. And I even looked this up on Writing the Beast. You can find the Hebrew. You can copy it and put it in and do the Hebrew value. And it really does come to 2,701, which is the 73rd triangular number. And also, if you add the gematria of John 1:1 and Genesis 1:1, you get 6,328, which is the 112th triangular number. And this right here is also 37 times 73. That's what gives you 2,701. But the reason it stuck out to me so much in regards to finding some of this stuff is because both Genesis and John start off with "in the beginning." And think about that in regards to Sheldon and the TV show he's famous for, The Big Bang Theory, right? Science says the beginning is from the Big Bang Theory. The Bible, it's Genesis in the Bible, in the beginning. So just really stands out to me. There's something more I'm supposed to see with most likely. I'll leave a link to this blog and you can come to it and you can find this link. There's just so much information that, it's just too much to talk about. There's pages and pages of connections of 37 and 73 all throughout the Bible. And I haven't even went and verified all of it for myself. I did do Genesis 1:1 and John 1:1, which is what all of these links or whatever that I had found come back to. So, I'm assuming that all the other ones are true as well, but I just haven't actually checked it for myself. I also noticed that in, simple gematria, if you write out Genesis 1, it equals 112, just like Houston. It also equals 158 in reverse, which, if you write out 73, it equals 158. Chuck Norris, all these numbers that stem back to 12 and 21. If you write out John 1, you get 326 in satanic gematria, which just sticks out to me because I've been talking about this number 326 a whole lot in regards to the angel Gabriel. And I'll leave a link to the video that I just posted in regards to Gabriel. It's funny because I even talk about John Galecki, who is Leonard from The Big Bang Theory, because he's in that new movie called Rings, and he's the professor named Professor Gabriel and whatnot. And I actually mentioned that here in a second. But I just wanted to point out a few more things that I left on this post. So, in the comments on my video on December 1st of 2014. I even brought up Apollo 8, and I talked about how it was the first crewed mission to orbit the moon, and it launched on 12/21 of 1968. Interesting, again, the 12 and the 21 connection. Obviously, I was talking about that because I made the video in regards to that, but I didn't even realize that I put it out on 12/1. And it's also interesting in regards to all of the space stuff that I've been talking about that is interrelated into a bunch of the media stories and whatever is going on, you know. Also, Apollo 8 in Gematria equals 57. Moon equals 57 in Gematria. And I've been talking about this big space moon theme. I talked about how Michigan and Purdue and all kinds of stuff. I was talking about Neil Armstrong and Eugene Cernan, who were the first and the last people to walk on the moon. Both attended Purdue University. And then not even a month later, or just over a month later, Eugene Cernan, the last guy to walk on the moon, dies in January of this year. But moral of the story here, Apollo 8, on Christmas Eve, when they were orbiting the moon, they read Genesis 1 through 10. So once again, you know, leading us up to the Big Bang Theory in the beginning. It's just kind of interesting. So also on this new episode of The Big Bang Theory where Sheldon proposes to his girlfriend Amy, he flies from LAX to New Jersey because Amy is at Princeton, and he flies there to propose to her. And who knows, I never looked that much more into it, but we just got the story of the New Jersey plane crash as well. It was on the same day that I made this post. And also Kevin Garnett played for the Nets when they were in Brooklyn. The Nets used to be from New Jersey. I don't know, just there feels like there's something going on with New Jersey. I even watched on the same day or whatever, or the night before, I even watched the South Park about the Jersey Shore and whatnot. So we'll see, I guess. We'll see if there's more to come, something to do with New Jersey. I really have no clue. It's just, I'm trying to piece this puzzle together. But while looking through this, I noticed that one of Jim Parsons' first movies that he was in was called Garden State, and New Jersey is the Garden State. And this movie is about a guy who flies back from Los Angeles he flies back from Los Angeles to New Jersey to go to his mom's funeral. And there's a whole bunch more that goes on with this movie as well, but just interesting. That is like basically how the whole story begins in this movie. It's a lot like Sheldon flying to Princeton to meet Amy. And on The Big Bang Theory, in regards to Leonard is the exact opposite. Leonard went to Princeton, and then he moved to California. That's when he moved in with Sheldon, and that's when the show began. So Leonard connected to the reverse, right? And then he even talks about Chuck Norris, and then Sheldon says all that stuff about the mirrors and whatnot, and then he even says Chuck Norris backwards or whatever. So hopefully all this makes sense. There's some reverse thing that's been going on since, you know, just before the Super Bowl and whatnot. And possibly it's been going on longer than that, but that's when it really was noticed. And now I'm seeing a whole bunch of stuff in regards to in the beginning. And then Leonard is all about the reverse. So I don't know. Makes you wonder. In the beginning, the reverse of the beginning is the end, right? So a few more things to point out. The same day, we got a story about Roseanne returning to ABC. And it's a whole lot of things that I've been talking about. When the Big Lebowski died and whatnot, there was a whole bunch of stuff in regards to Ralph. There was a lot of Ralph symbolism. He's even a Chicago Cubs fan on the movie King Ralph. The big joke on the Big Lebowski is all about going to the grocery store or whatever, Ralph's. He even signs the check on 9/11, if you recall. So just pointing it out, I've been talking a lot about how there is a royal theme that is connected in regards to the space theme. there's some interrelated themes that are going on. So King Ralph, whatever. John Galecki, who's Leonard on The Big Bang, also plays David Healy on Roseanne. David Healy in Gematria equals 91, just like Roseanne, just like rockets, just like space, just like flat Earth. In regards to Christopher Columbus and flat Earth and everything else, he was, the people who sent him here was, or paid for it or whatever, was Isabella the First of Castile. And in Gematria, her name equals 326, the Gabriel number that I'm talking about. And like I said, Leonard was on that new Ring movie, and the Ring in Satanic Gematria equals 326. I also talked about this movie called Arrival, about aliens that come and they're trying to teach us this ring language so we can understand time the way that they do. The ring language, Saturn, the Lord of the Rings, Saturn, the keeper of time. And anyway, Arrival equals 326 in Gematria. And Gabriel, according to some, is one of the 7 archangels. The movie The Ring is all about 7 days, and the movie Arrival is about the 7-limbed aliens. So, just once again, pointing out the Gabriel stuff, because it never seems to end. There's something just super connected to it that, for whatever the reason, I'm even clicking on these articles, and then I'm seeing these connections. I already talked about all of this stuff. I also noticed that John Galecki, he's on the Family Guy. He's on Family Guy for one episode as well in 2009, and it just so happens to be the 135th episode, which sticks out because Gabriel in reverse gematria equals 135. There's even a deal that talks about how his name is David Healy on the show, but it also, they might have made a blooper and his name also could actually be Kevin and not David. And Kevin Healy in gematria equals 112 and 158 in reverse, right? Just like Chuck Norris, just like 73, just like the episode that Leonard gets engaged to Penny. I also looked up Howard on the show because Howard on the show is a Jewish astronaut, right? In regards to the space theme and whatnot. And his name in reverse gematria, 166. So just go figure that it would be 166. And it's just something I just keep mentioning over and over. And the Jewish astronaut, his name equals 166. If you look up Roseanne, Roseanne studies Kabbalah. How interesting is that? And she even studied it at the Kabbalah Center. Just a few days before even making this post, I even re-looked up Kabbalah, and I talked about some of this other stuff in regards to Ein Sof, or however you say it, and infinity. I even have a song on YouTube that I called this a long time ago because it's a term that I learned years ago. Like, for some reason, I stumbled upon this term. I didn't even understand it to the extent of what I think I understand it now, but back then it was just something that interested me, and I just named a song like years later this, because the song was all about, you know, basically never knowing anything kind of thing. Like, how does, even if there is a God and God created us, then, I mean, this is a question lots of people have, but if God created us, how does he know that nothing created him, or what created him, you know? And that was kind of, sort of what the term is about, you know? You know, basically understanding the infinity, knowing that I know nothing. It's also pretty interesting if you look up how many celebrities are into Kabbalah and everything else. Even Ariana Grande has been studying Kabbalah since the age of 12, it says. I guarantee I could go uptown right now and ask every person uptown, and not one person has even heard of Kabbalah. So interesting that a lot of these famous people are people who have studied this. But anyway, let's look at the reasons why this show was announced that it's making a comeback on the day that it was. So the reason that we got this story about Roseanne making a comeback on May 16th is because it was 194 days after Roseanne Barr's birthday. And if you read out Roseanne Barr in reverse gematria, her name equals 194. I mean, I don't know how many times I've documented stuff like this. A lot of times when celebrities die, they die so many days after their birthday of whatever their name equals. The most recent example I can think of is Chris Cornell. Chris Cornell equals 64, and he died 64 days before his birthday. This stuff just seems to always happen in regards to celebrities and even media stories. If you can find out when a person's birthday is, it seems that they always die somehow in a connection with this. Once in a while, it's something else. It's connected to something else. For example, Alan Thicke, when he died, he's famous for growing pains. His name doesn't equal 912, but growing pains equals 912, and he died 9 months, 12 days after his birthday. Famous for being on growing pains. But anyway, in regards to Roseanne, I also noticed that it's 6 months and 13 days, which is 194 days. And this number is interesting because in regards to Kabbalah, that I just mentioned in a post a few days before this post, and Roseanne also studies Kabbalah, but infinity in Jewish gematria equals 613, and the Jews also believe in the 613 commandments, the 613 mitzvahs. 613 is also the 112th prime number, which is interesting in regards to all of the Houston stuff that I've mentioned. It's also interesting that it was after Roseanne's 64th birthday. This number super connected to Israel. Israel equals 64. Zion 64. Thelema equals 64. Thelema, of course, worships the number 93. Saturn equals 93. A lot to do with Israel and the date numerologies of significant events in Israel, some to 93. A lot of people believe that Saturn is actually the god of the Old Testament, and so on. Also, do what thou wilt equals 64. Synagogue of Satan equals 64. The Synagogue of Satan is what they mention in Revelation. It is the false Jews that will rule in the end times. So who knows, just pointing that out, that it was her 64th birthday. She studies Kabbalah. It's connected to infinity, connected to some special things in regards to Israel and whatnot. Also, since they're bringing back Roseanne, it's currently only has 222 episodes, which means the first episode when it comes back will be the 223rd episode. The Synagogue of Satan equals 223. If you've studied Skull and Bones and whatnot, you know they're number 322. This is the backwards of 223 and 322. The word Masonic in Jewish gematria equals 223. Lots of other things that go along with that. You know, Friday the 13th even equals 223. And in regards to what I've been mentioning, in regards to the Houston Rockets, that if you follow what I've been saying, Roseanne is also known for singing a terrible national anthem on July 25th of 1990, and she did it in San Diego, the original home to the Houston Rockets. They were from San Diego, and then they became the Houston Rockets. The Star-Spangled Banner in gematria equals 223. Just like Kaepernick. Kaepernick equals 223. Think about all the stuff in regards to him not standing during the national anthem. There's a whole bunch of stuff in regards to Colin Kaepernick that I've covered before, too, as he's super connected to Moses. He used to play for the 49ers, and they play in Levi's Stadium, and Moses in the tribe of Levi. But this video is already long enough. I'm just going to leave that out of here. If you want, you can search through some of my Kaepernick stuff, and I guarantee you'll find a whole bunch of stuff in regards to the Nebraska Cornhuskers, who play in the Sea of Red, and Moses part of the Red Sea and whatnot, you know. Anyway, one last thing is that Roseanne also currently lives on the Big Island of Hawaii. Big Island equals 166 in reverse gematria. And I just wrote in here that it's interesting because I went to Hawaii in some year, 2002 or 3. It's before I was old enough to drink, but we went to the Big Island. Just interests me that it was 166, and there's lots of 166 connections in my life. Possibly nothing. Possibly I need to go back and look into more of the information because I don't really remember a whole lot about the trip other than using my scholarship money to go and watch my sister's soccer team or something like that. And yeah, who knows? It was just kind of an excuse to go on a trip, really. But I wish I could remember the exact date and all that. Who knows, but whatever. Gonna leave it at that. My daughter wants me to come downstairs and look at something. I don't know what's going on, but I think I'm done anyway. Just wanted to point out the more odd things, that I'm talking about 12 and 21. Then I click on an article that reminds me of stuff that's all about 12 and 21. And then we get the thing about Roseanne, which is connected. And it's connected to all the stuff that I keep mentioning over and over. So, interesting. Maybe eventually I'll be able to piece it together a little bit better, So, whatever. Like I said, gonna go. Have a good one. Peace.